everybody. Welcome to episode number 2 of Cooking in the Kitchen with Dani. And today, because it's kind of a rainy gray day, it's in July, but we're going to stay in the kitchen and we're going to cook 5-minute artisan bread, which my friend bought me this book. I didn't read it for over a year because I thought, I know how to make bread. I don't really need that. And I thought 5 minutes a day, come on, that's got to be a lie anyway. But I'll tell you what, I was bored one day, I opened this book, I read it, it blew my mind. This 5-minute bread is stupid easy. Like anybody can make it. I think I could be making it with my grandchildren, except for literally they're like 3 months old. So we're gonna cook it today. I think you need to go buy this book. Buy one for yourself, make it at home, blow your mind, and then go buy one for all your friends. This bread is like the very best artisan bread that I've ever bought from like fancy bakeries. It's got that great crunch on the outside. It's chewy, it's delicious, and we're gonna make it today. So literally this will probably take us 5 minutes after I get done yakking at you. And then I will take you through all the steps and you will see everything. Listen, you can make this with no kitchen equipment at all. I just happen to have a stand mixer, and I've gone out and bought the fancy bread rising bucket for $10 from King Arthur Flour. But I will tell you how you can do it by hand, and they obviously tell you in the book, so just go buy the book, okay? Buy the book. But let's get started, okay? So I'm gonna see if I can change my camera angle, and I'm gonna show you my little kitchen setup here. So bear with me, I'm brand new at all this stuff. My kitchen is just my kitchen. Okay, so this is exactly what we're starting with. Oop, that's kind of rugged, huh? Okay, so I've got the cookbook. I've got 3 cups of tepid water, kind of warm. Put it on your wrist. It just feels about body temperature. I've got some nice white unbleached all-purpose flour. Happens to be organic. Bought it at Costco. Got some salt. I've got some active dry yeast, and I've got some measuring tools. And then I'm going to use my beloved KitchenAid that I've had forever and ever. I think it's like the world's best kitchen tool. I did buy this bucket from King Arthur Flour, but you can buy it at any restaurant supply house because this recipe makes 4 loaves, 4 1-pound loaves. You can make half the recipe or you can double the recipe. Do whatever you want. Like it's your kitchen. It's just for fun. Try it out. Okay. Oh, also I have yeast. Sorry, active dry yeast. I typically buy it in bulk, but right now it's getting crazy hard to find yeast, right? Okay, so easy. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take, I've got my mixing bowl right here. I'm gonna dump 3 cups of water, I've already measured it, into the bowl. There. I'm going to take, because I'm making, I'm going to go ahead and make the 4 loaves. And the reason you can do that is because you rise the dough in the bucket, and the bucket goes in your refrigerator after 3 hours, and you can take a piece off like for up to 2 weeks and just make yourself a loaf of fresh hot bread for dinner. And literally from the time you take it out of the refrigerator to you setting it on the table is under an hour. And of that, there's about 30 seconds of actual intensive labor. And that's just shaping your loaf and turning on your oven. But anyways, okay, so 3 cups of water. Then it calls for, it calls for kosher salt. Good catch, huh? I needed to pay attention to my recipe ahead of time. Good news, I happen to have kosher salt right here. So 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt. I'm using diamond kosher salt today. 1.5 tablespoons. So that's about a tablespoon. Another half. Okay, there's 1.5 tablespoons of that. 1.5 tablespoons of granulated yeast. I'm using today. I'm using Red Star Active, and that's 2 packages. One second, let me grab the scissors for that. Okay, so 2 packages of yeast. I typically buy my yeast in bulk, but you know, since this COVID thing happened, it's just almost impossible to find yeast, right? So, but I did find it. It's starting to be back in the stores. Okay, so 2 packages of this, just dump it right in. I'm dumping it into my bowl. So I have now water, salt, and yeast in my bowl. Now I'm going to add the flour. Let's get this out of the way. I like to set things out of the way when I'm finished. So the next thing is, it calls for 6.5 cups unsifted, unbleached, all-purpose white flour, measured with the scoop and sweep method, which if you're not familiar, I keep my, I don't know how to work with this one so much. So you scoop in there, scoop in, you've got the top, and then you sweep it. I'm going to sweep this way because this is an awkward container to be doing it from. So there's 1, 13, that's 6.5 cups. 13 half cups equals 6.5 full cups. Okay, so the flour's in. So it's flour, salt, yeast, and water. 4 ingredients only. Okay, so here's my stand mixer. I'm going to move it over here. Put the bowl in the, put on the hook. Raise the bowl, and I'm going to see if I can get this in a little bit closer for you to see. We're just going to mix it literally just about a minute until it's all mixed up. Okay, here we go. I start out on the very lowest so the flour doesn't fly out of there. Let's see if we can get you guys in there just a little bit closer. You can see it mixing up in there. We're going to mix it up a little bit faster. Just stir it up. And you're just going to stir it until it's all mixed together. It doesn't have to knead it, doesn't have to do anything else. Looks pretty good. We can always give it a final stir with our hand. I mean, not with our hands, but you know, the spatula. Like, so let me just set you down. Alrighty, here we go. So that's down. Take the blade off, and because the bread dough is so good, I don't want to miss a single little tiny delicious nugget of it. Get it all off the dough hook. Great. Oh, there's still some more morsels of goodness on there. Okay. So now you can see in here, it's just, it's a really rough dough. And all we're going to do is put it in this bucket. I'm going to go ahead and slide this since we don't need that. So this is a nice clean bucket that I got. I bought this from King Arthur Flour, but you can buy it anywhere. It's a dough rising bucket. Or container, any plastic container. Before I had this, I just used my big mixing bowl, so it's kind of awkward in the refrigerator. Okay, so you're literally just going to dump this in. Scrape it out. Without all my talking, literally, by the time you dump the water, the flour, the yeast in here, and mix it together for about 30 seconds. It really is 5-minute bread. Let's get this all off of here. Scrape it all out of this here. And if you've never worked with yeasted dough before, it's like magic. This would be a great, like, if you made this bread for your friends or your family, they would think you were like the world's best baker, and it's so easy. I've got the world's worst spatula right now, I think, for this particular job. Get the rest of this dough out of here. This dough is going to more than double in size, so I hate leaving anything in my mixing bowl because I think, oh my God, that was an entire slice of bread right there. Probably exactly. Okay, a little bit more. And then I'll show you how I do it so I kind of know when double is. I've already marked this bucket. I've made this bread so many times. I've shared this, bought this book for so many people because it's so good and it's so easy. Okay, so here's our bread dough. And it's at just below the 2-quart mark. So I kind of I made it up. I just put a little black line there right below the 4-quart mark. So that's how I know when it's going to be doubled. So I'm just going to put this lid on. I'm not going to put it on tight. Literally just set it here on the counter. And we're going to come back in about 2 hours and you're going to see that it's all the way up to there. And after that, it's just into the refrigerator. And then whenever I want a fresh loaf of hot bread, I scoop it out and we'll go through that whole thing later today and I will show you how that goes. So even with all my yakking, that didn't take too long. All right, here you are. 5-minute artisan bread in 5 minutes a day. There's the dough and we'll be back. Okay, it's been exactly 2 hours. I set my timer, and so here, do you remember where the bread dough was when we started? It was way down here. It's doubled in size now. I kind of made just a visual line for myself to see if you were to look inside, you'd notice it's kind of domed up in there. So for right now, we're finished with the bread dough. You could cook it immediately, but what is even better is if you put it in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 hours to chill, which just makes it a little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to pop this in the refrigerator right now and we'll come back in 3 to 4 hours, or actually just before I'm getting ready for dinner, and I will show you how to cut the dough, shape it, and cook it. So that's all there is right now. Well chilled in the refrigerator for more than 3 hours. You can still see it's right up here at the doubled the bread size. So we're going to open the bucket. I'm going to use a sharp knife. I'm going to basically just cut it in quarters and then scoop it out with my hand. Here, let me take my rings off. I'll take that one off anyway. Okay, here we go. Cutting it in quarters. And then scooping out, just kind of giving, the knife is just giving me kind of a really rough estimate of what a quarter of this is. So it's a little bit stretchy and goopy, but not terrible. It's nice and chill. So basically, I'm just going to take my hands and quickly kind of roll it into a ball. It's kind of sticks to your hands, so don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. You won't even notice later on when we're eating it. And literally, that's kind of it. It calls for putting it on like a pizza peel with cornmeal underneath, but I found that that ends up burning in my oven and I don't like the smell. So I end up using a piece of parchment paper and I put it on a cookie sheet, which then once it's done resting for 20 minutes, and well, the rest of the time that needs to rest, we're just going to slide this off into the oven. Super fun. You'll see. Okay, so here we're finished, and in this stage now, it's just going to rest for 20 minutes, nothing else. We've done everything we need to do. I'll wash my hands, and I'll come back in 20 minutes. Perfect. Okay, this bread is kind of hard to see because my lighting is just terrible. But now that that final 20 minutes rise is done, I'm going to just lightly sprinkle it with flour so I can cut the top. We're going to make little 1/2-inch slits in the top so it rises better. So I'm taking my sharp bread knife. I'm going to make a nice cut right across there. Just for fun, I'm going to make them go the other way so it looks more like a leaf. You can make them any way you want. They don't have to be fancy. But these are steam vents for the bread. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I took it off the cookie sheet, tried to put it on something that would show up better with my home lighting system, which is not adequate, I guess. So here I go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide it into the oven onto the hot sheet. I'm going to then add my 1 cup of very hot water to my broiler pan, close that, close the oven, set the timer for 30 minutes, and in 30 minutes we're going to have a lovely hot loaf of bread. Okay, the timer just went off. Let's see what she looks like. Oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. Okay, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Hold on. Right out of the way. Here we go. And oh my gosh, look at that. Beautiful loaf, just like from a fancy, fancy bakery. Okay, hold on. Let me put it over here and over here onto the board to cool. I'm going to let it cool for a few minutes and we'll give it a cut and have a taste. Okay, here it is. Isn't that pretty? It's a beautiful loaf. It's still a little bit warm. I've let it cool down for 30 minutes, but now I'm just going to go ahead and cut the end off so you can see what a beautiful flaky crust this is. And there you have it, a beautiful artisan bread ready in 5 minutes or less. Yum. Just perfect. So until next time, this is Dani in the kitchen with a 5-minute artisan loaf of bread that is divine, and you have to try it. Go buy the book. Artisan Bread, 5 minutes a day. It's wonderful. Thank you. Stay tuned. I think peach pie is next.